This month, Ryan requested me on Patreon to review the movie Gotti, a biopic of the mafia boss John Gotti. You might be wondering what is so special about this film, and well, let's just say it had quite the fascinating journey to the screen. This was a long-time passion project for John Travolta and one of the film's producers. It went around Hollywood looking for distributors and financiers for quite a while, and Barry Levinson even came close to directing it. Instead, we got Kevin Connolly, most well known for playing Eric on the show Entourage, behind the camera. Lionsgate was originally going to distribute the film in 2017, but cancelled the release at the 11th hour. The company MoviePass eventually got involved, and that's a whole other can of worms. Gotti finally opened last summer to dreadful reviews and pitiful box office, and having now watched the movie, I do have to agree with the general consensus. One of several problems with Gotti is its structure, as it's so misshapen in how it attempts to tell John Gotti's life story. The movie keeps jumping around from one period in his life to another. This is a film that appears to be a flashback on top of another flashback on top of another flashback. It does not help that we're supposed to be following a multitude of characters, and most of them are not properly introduced and fleshed out. A lot of people have compared this movie to Goodfellas, in the way it plays with narration and structure, but without the finesse that Martin Scorsese brought to his gangster picture. Another thing Goodfellas does better is that even when we're introduced to a minor character we don't see again, we understand just enough about them to see where they fit in Henry Hill's life. Gotti just throws a bunch of gangsters at us and expects us to immediately know who they are. The movie sort of pushes out people who don't have an encyclopedic knowledge of John Gotti. I'm not all that familiar with his life story, and I still don't know. The movie keeps telling us he's this great mob boss and gangster and an inspirational figure for his community, but doesn't show us what makes him different or more important than other gangsters. The film occasionally edits in archival news clips, and they do a better job of explaining who John Gotti is than the narrative scenes do. While he is the lead, the film also spends a significant amount of time on his son, John Jr. His son even starts to take over the movie's attention, and much like the elder Gotti, it does a terrible job of explaining his whole deal, why he goes to prison, and so forth. I read up a bit about John Gotti Jr. afterwards, and the film leaves out a lot of things, some of which would have helped explain his character, and would have made for interesting cinematic material. Instead, we get a very sanitized version of events, and he's also given a stupid haircut he never had in real life. How about John Gotti's wife and other children? Do they get the same amount of attention as his oldest son? Well, his wife yells at him a lot. One of his sons is hit by a car and dies. Certainly tragic, but we don't know that much about him beforehand, and after about 3 minutes of dwelling on it, the movie kind of moves on. He also had 2 daughters who make fleeting appearances because they're not important, apparently. I will say I thought John Travolta did give the role his all. As mentioned at the start of this video, he had been attached to the film from the very beginning and stayed on even when other actors like Joe Pesci and Chaz Palminteri signed on and then dropped out. He is certainly committed, but the direction and writing betray him, as Gotti's portrayed in such a dull way. Overall, Gotti is just boring. I never cared or was invested in any of the personalities, and the editing is so erratic and jumbled. The thing is, you can tell Kevin Connolly wanted to play with the traditional biopic format and maybe use this as a launching pad for us, the audience, to learn more about John Gotti. But the movie makes him such a generic figure and person. I kept wondering what he did to warrant a whole movie about him. I actually got more entertainment from skimming through his Wikipedia page than I did watching the movie. Then again, maybe Gotti was also one of those films where everyone on the production side wanted a piece of the creative process, as the list of producers and executive producers that scroll by during the end credits is endless. How does a $10 million movie have so many producers? Anyway, thank you for your request, Ryan.